Do you want to get to Pakman, Matt?
Let's do it.
So we've done a decent amount on this guy. I want to get to the analysis here, but maybe to start us off, because I think this is probably going to upset you a little bit, Matt. Because you were saying that, like, so we did a little Pakman stuff. We for a long time we've sort of been pretty chill. Haven't really done too many takedowns of other folks, right? I think that's fair to say.
We'll occasionally do swipe a pool or something like that, but we haven't really been doing a lot of that.
But the Israel-Palestine thing, I don't know, made certain things clear. Well, the thing is, like, we're always happy to do a pool. We're always happy to do a door. We're always happy to do a Reuben, all these other guys, because they very much represent not just people who have slight disagreements, but people who have, like, completely different political goals and views than us. Right. And I think Israel-Palestine actually, in the most extreme way, in a sense, shows a significant difference between certain people's politics, right? Where it's like, oh, we might have all maybe been engaged in a primary together to a certain extent, so, like, we're in the same room, right? But now it's becoming very clear that, the lives and deaths of thousands and then the ability of millions to stay in their homes is a point of contention or debate for you. Yeah, friend, we don't really share the same kind of political worldview at all. So it's a little bit easier now. And on that subject, Matt and I, so, we've done some things on Pakman because I found him to be extremely egregious, particularly not just in the defense of Israel, but making a point of sort of directing anger and frustration at somebody like Rashida Tlaib, who's already facing the brunt of right-wing hysteria along with liberal and Zionist, attacks. So found that to be pretty disgusting.
Yeah, no, I want to underline this point too, because I feel generally like I prefer to train my fire at state actors and not streamers. Pakman, when he decided he was going to wade into this by joining a smear campaign of Rashida Tlaib, one of the few people showing any kind of principle in this moment, then he decides he's going to become a cop. It's like, okay, we're going to throw on the siren. And it's time. It's the same thing with, like, people like Destiny. And it's like at a certain point, like, I much prefer, as we're going to do, like, playing some IDF guys telling CNN, like, yeah, look, we demolished that graveyard. What are you gonna, you can't, you can't go look at the evidence of it. Like, I much prefer to do that, but I do think this thing, and then the way Pakman jumped in to say that it was unhinged of somebody to accuse Israel of bombing hospitals, and then to just drop the subject since then, as it's clear that, like, so many hospitals have been bombed. And we're not even going to double back to the characterization of unhinged, regardless of the specifics of a certain incident. There's no reflection of, oh crap, did I maybe join into something a little bit before? Because that what it shows is, one, like, a bad ideology that's too, but also like he didn't know what to expect. He didn't know that Israel was going to bomb all of these universities, 16 cemeteries desecrated. Like I've said, every university, all the hospitals, bakeries. That stuff was like, I honestly don't even think he expected it to get this bad. Which I think.
No. Sorry, no, I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I think it just says a lot. That's
no, and I agree completely. And look, and this is another thing. I mean, we've said this most of the covers and videos that we've done, but I will say it again. I think that's a great point, Matt. A lack of foresight, a lack of understanding, a lack of what your activities are sort of are supporting. Another great example of this is what happened in Bolivia, where a right wing Christian group takes over after a coup against a popularly elected leader in Bolivia. I thought the whole project of, the Pakman show was speaking true to the Republicans and the Christian fascists and reactionaries. And yet the lady who's about to pull out a massive Bible in the Capitol and say, we're going to purge this place of the witchcraft, right? they're talking about the indigenous people who were in power before.
Indigenous Satanicos, I believe, is the term.
That's not a worry, right? In fact, I'm going to say, you know what? This guy, Evo Morales, is sort of a bad dude. And I agree with the United States of America, a very sweet country that never has any ill will towards leftists in South America. And basically support and back this right-wing movement. Yeah, let's put that up for a second for folks.
The Bible has returned to the government palace and as declared as part of an effort to separate herself from. But yeah, let's split hairs over Morales, shall we?
No, I mean 100%. And like, look, the point here is, I think exactly what you just said, though, Matt. Is like, look, we can have contempt and anger. Hell, that's like the whole point of the segment. But I think it's very fair to say that this person doesn't really understand the consequences what's coming next. So when they were saying and denying the things that you were just talking about, Matt, in Gaza, or when they were saying the things they were saying regarding to Bolivia, they don't know what it is that they're arguing for. But anyway, that's maybe a general take as to why we dislike this person. Let's have some fun and get to the reason people watch it. Because people don't watch that program for its international coverage, obviously. And let's get this ace political understanding that we got here. And first up, Matt, is maybe just a little bit of an appetizer, the mozzarella sticks, as you will. Because I think you're going to get very upset when you hear something mentioned here, because it is true that there has been much coverage of Israel-Palestine since the early days. And it will become very, very apparent as to maybe why in a second.
Dozens and dozens of voicemails and emails that I'm getting, hundreds of YouTube comments saying, David, are you blind? It's time to panic about Joe Biden. Trump is beating Biden in every poll, and he's going to crush him in November, and we are all going to feel like idiots. Let's have a conversation about this. First of all, it rarely makes sense to panic, even if things look terrible. I mean, we gain nothing from panicking. So that aside, we should honestly look at the situation big picture and see if we can relax a little bit here. It doesn't mean we're going to stay home. It doesn't mean we won't work to get out the vote or whatever. But let's just set the situation. If there is no recession, and if there is no geopolitical calamity that directly involves the United States with Joe Biden put in extraordinarily difficult situations, I don't believe the 3 dead in Jordan represent that at this time. So if there's no recession and no major U.S.-focused geopolitical calamity, I believe Joe Biden will almost certainly be reelected.
So look, do you need more there? I mean, no big international calamity, Yeah,
it's not like we're escalating the situation. I mean, look, like I think it's the only thing that saves Biden is that he is running against Trump, and Trump animates people to vote against him.
Mm-hmm.
That's because that's like a huge problem. That's not like a position of strength. That is a position of massive, massive weakness that a guy under numerous indictments and who has like basically shocked the conscience of like a lot of people, including Republican voters, is all of a sudden back again in fighting distance to Joe Biden. Yeah, I mean, I mean, and I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't predict the election. I would say, like, I don't think Biden looks strong, and I would say, I don't know. The don't panic argument, I think, generally speaking, he might be right. Like, it's good not to panic, but like the panic is like that's because the job is actually kind of the same. If depending on who's in office, as we see that when it comes to in a situation like Israel Palestine, the difference is often like rhetorical, maybe. So like I don't know. Like I think for people like Pakman and the type of that I think shallow partisan politics, you should probably panic, because I think like Democrats like. Joe's doing everything he can to blow a massive advantage that going up against Trump and in the post Roe versus Wade era, that it's even close like this it says a lot.
So, I mean, just two quick things. Later in the video, he makes the argument that a lot of people have been making, which is that, Trump has been sort of forgotten. And he'll be back on TV and he's going to make people mad. Right? No, it's like the idea is like,
Okay, fair.
People are going to be reminded of the reasons that they didn't like Trump and they voted for Joe Biden in the first place. I'm going to tell you why that argument doesn't work. It doesn't work because Joe Biden has been the president for the past 4 years, right? In the abstract, if it's Trump versus random generic Democrat new candidate, right? Yeah. Then yeah, I think that argument that like, oh, people are going to be reminded about why they don't like Trump, whatever. But if it's Joe Biden versus Trump, the argument is actually, do you want things to continue as they are, or do you want things to change? And one thing that has just been shown abundantly clear to a lot of people in media over the past few years is that people are willing to press that button that says, hey, let's see what happens, what's on the other side of that door, even if it is a kind of known chaos like Trump. To say, look, I'm not saying definitively that like Trump is going to beat Biden, but I am saying that this like confidence that people have is like, oh, well, as the election goes on, people are going to be reminded of all the things they don't like about Trump. Fine. But that also goes for Joe Biden, who has had 4 years to sort of discredit himself in the mind of the average voter.
But what that is it's a type of fan service that you see Tim Pool do when he's talking about how Trump's going to have a 50-state landslide. It's because it's fucking nice to hear that. I want to tune in and I want to be reassured. And I want a nice bedtime story. Who fucking knows? I don't know. That Edinger Mentum person who correctly predicted that the supposed red wave in the midterms was going to be kind of like not like a fart in the bathtub. That person is concerned. And all I do is I look at people who have decent track records and are they concerned or not. And Bobby Big Wheel, like they aren't like overjoyed with the situation that Democrats are navigating themselves into. So what that is, and Pakman does not have any. Pakman's sources on the election aren't any better than his sources were on the Gaza hospitals. Okay, and so he is just making shit up. But that's what people want to hear is that, oh, actually, it's fine, and Biden's got this. And that's a nice thing to think if you're a Democrat.
Well, and what's really dangerous about this whole situation is like, look, it's bad enough to maybe be sitting here looking at what another 4 years of Trump presidency will look like. Handing Trump the United States of America in the condition that Joe Biden will be handing him, particularly on questions of Israel-Palestine, particularly on questions of the southern border, where, Joe Biden had 4 years to undo a lot of Trump policies, in fact, maintained, expanded, and made permanent a bunch of them, right? So Trump's not even like starting, where he was when he first became the president, right? Re-entering the president with a mandate, which if Trump were to win, the mandate would be more psycho shit at the United States southern border. Boy, you hand him, an accelerated project that, you basically helped continue the work for 4 years for him. Give it back to Trump. I mean, that's extremely dangerous stuff. So it's even worse than just like the threat of like Trump coming back in office. It's like actually what raw material you're giving him. But should we go on to what the future of the left might be? The force that maybe could change this game, some alternatives.
Oh yeah. So that's just not any kind of anti-Zionism, is it?
We're going to skip ahead here. People can watch the whole thing if they want. It seems the future of the left is not AOC, Bernie, and Elizabeth Warren. I'll tell you right now, the structure of these videos is very simple. It's not Elizabeth Warren. He basically goes through his argument as to why these figures aren't going to be the future. He says Elizabeth Warren's brand has been tainted too much, despite the fact that she has a really great voting record. The progressive online left turned their back on her and they don't like her, right?
No, I mean, because she smeared Bernie Sanders as a sexist for the sake of the Iowa primary. Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
And because her social base is fucking elite college kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like it. Anyway, Bernie can't be the future of the progressive movement because he's been too consistent on Israel and Biden. Look,
No, he hasn't. He called for a ceasefire like 5 years ago.
you know, I mean, well, the argument here that he's saying is that, like, you know, the progressive leftists turned their back on Uncle Bernie. You know, and I think that actually has a little bit more to do with the realization that when Bernie isn't interested in sort of leading this movement, didn't build anything to sort of carry on that project, now that he's not running for president, and it's very clear that that whole goal is done. Anyways, and, you know, Pakman says, you know, there's age there, so whatever. Won't nitpick here because we're about to get some gems. And AOC, was looking like she was going to be the next face of the party. But again, the really stupid online left, who doesn't understand anything, has sort of turned against her and said that she's a sellout, right? So it's going to have to be somebody new and fresh.
But, okay. I don't quite, like, the thing with AOC is, like, I think whereas like a year or so ago, I was hearing rumblings like she's sick of politics. Now it seems like, oh, she's like locking in and she's playing the game. And you know, the inside game. And I don't want to overcharacterize it too much because I think like some things, I mean, we've split hairs on AOC and her response to different situations all sorts of ways. But that just seems a little bit suspect to me. But anyway, who's going to get the online left? I guess because losing them means you're done as the future of the
apparently, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's see. We got a list of here, and I believe that this list that he's going from, he opens up this video by talking about the person who's been sort of making really interesting arguments about who's going to take over and be the next leader of the progressive left. And I was trying to find it. I didn't have a chance to, Matt. But the person, you might remember them. You know, we were warned about them by none other than Alex Jones, Brian Stetler.
He's the future of the left?
No. He wrote an article about the future of the left, which, you know, Pakman found very inspiring and interesting. So anyways, just want to give credit where credit's due. But let's see this list here.
Oh, I can't see anything. Are you showing it?
Oh shit, I'm so sorry. Damn,
you look so expectantly.
I must have. Yeah, because I was watching closely. All right, here we go. So he's talking about AOC and, you know, how she's not going to be the person anymore.
Okay, yeah.
If not Bernie, Warren, and AOC, three individuals where several years ago it seemed that is the direction that the progressive left was going. What is the future of the progressive left? Well, I don't really know.
Well, that's fucking true, by the way. But anyways, let's.
I mean, how can you not say, like, look, if you want to keep it to electoral politics, like, I mean, I would say Rashida Tlaib. Cori Bush has some stuff going on right now. I hope she gets through the investigation with regards to Scary and stuff like that.
No, yeah, this isn't even. I mean, yeah, no, totally.
But like, also Sean Fain. Like, I don't know. Like Brandon Mancia. I don't know. Maybe name some union leaders.
Well, maybe they're coming. You don't know.
Okay,
yet.
sorry. I don't mean to anticipate.
But the names that you find when you look at op-eds from people who are in this business, and I'm going to say a bunch of names, not necessarily.
So again, I'm so sorry, Matt, to do this. But already we're here. Like, look at the op-eds from the people who are in this business. I mean, all right. So are we talking about like James Carville? You know, like people who had like people who have just sort of had no sense of what's going on in American politics, both on the right and the left for a long while. Yeah, let's hear what they're saying. If you read enough Washington Post and Politico and New York Times, what are those folks who have been wrong about everything for the past 10 years thinking about the next step is for the progressive?
This is such a fatuous way to look at politics. Like, who's going to be the person? Like, the people often, especially when you talk about fucking senators, it's the same people. It's just like what tides. Like when you look to look at the Republicans, for instance, like there's different tides of like Trumpism or this or that, like neoconservatism, whatever. When you talk about just as like which individual is going to, I
totally agree. Yeah, the premise is bad. The premise is really bad. I totally agree.
It's like Bill Simmons. I mean, actually, this is sub Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons is such interesting metaphors of pop culture.
But this list is going to blow your mind. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Because these are the people I want representing the progressive left, but because these are the names that are coming up most frequently. And I know that many in the audience will say, David, how can they represent the progressive left? They're not even progressive. Okay. The list that is often being floated, this is the list.
By whom?
Gavin Newsom, governor of California, which will make many in the audience absolutely cringe. Some who believe that he's just a loser. Others who believe he's not actually progressive. Others who believe he has, quote, ruined California, but Gavin Newsom is a name that is mentioned.
By whom?
By like weird dudes in DC. I mean, look, this is the thing about American politics.
Cite a fucking source. What are you talking about?
I mean, I've seen the Newsom pitch as a progressive, but again, it's just like bullshit. It's like it sounds in the air, right? It's not an argument. It's not a position. It's nonsense. Because one thing that has become abundantly clear is that a lot of Democrats now want to hold on to the term progressive, something that they rejected for most of their recent history, and now they're like, oh yeah, I'm a progressive.
That's not new though. Like Howard Dean was like the progressive, and it's like if you were back in 2004 being like, or whenever Howard Dean was on, was that 2004? Being like, maybe it was 2008. Howard Dean is like the future of the progressive. No, he is a politician that is set up to opportunistically run in a lane that is, you know, more to the left, but like. This is just, I just hate this way of looking at. Okay, it's one thing if you were going to say this has been mentioned, show some data. This whole like, I am the processor of the op-eds. And
I mean, that's what this show is, frankly, though.
God.
It actually, like, I think that's a good review.
Exasperating.
All right, next up.
Jamie Raskin, who's been on this program, is a name that is mentioned. Counterpoint to Jamie Raskin is he really part of the next generation? Well, yeah, compared to 80-year-olds, he is. Is he progressive enough? I think if you look into the track record of Jamie Raskin,
he is so
which we looked at deeply before he appeared on the show, you find a true progressive community organizer who is also skilled at politics. Jamie Raskin is a name that's mentioned, but is he really going to be the leader of the progressive movement? I don't know. Some are talking about Richie Torres from New York, member of Congress. Many in the audience will say he is not nearly anti-Israeli enough, so he can't be the leader of the progressive movement. Stacey Abrams from Georgia.
So, okay. Richie Torres is a wild one.
Just a massive brain dead Zionist. Sorry, but like
absolutely.
Just stepping on rakes all of a sudden. What there was some major factual error. He didn't know that there's any sort of like apartheid conditions in the West Bank. Moron.
No, I mean beyond that, like brain dead and like the travesty and the weight of what he is defending. This is a fucking social political climber. Are you kidding me? The easiest ticket to success and growth within the Democratic fucking Party of the United States of America is to be an insane pro-mass slaughter of Gazans and pro-Israel person. This isn't so, he just happens to have a strong position. That's what somebody who is chasing influence within the Democratic Party does. And what did we learn about people like Elizabeth Warren, all these other characters who were sort of seen to be progressive? When it came time to take on the Democratic Party, what did they do? So anyway, I mean, God, I'm almost giving this too much credit by coming up with like a strong argument. Richie Torres, absolutely insane.
Crazy.
This next bit is like, I love it.
First of all, like, how many of these people have been supported? Who was too critical of Israel? I missed that.
Richie Torres.
He's been too critical of Israel, or he's not critical of Israel enough? Because neither is Jamie Raskin, for my money. I don't
totally.
think.
No,
I mean, I have to look into that closer.
He's being facetious and saying, "Oh, Richie Torres doesn't hate Israel enough to be a progressive," according to the online commenters. That again, he's debating instead of real adults. It's the commenters out there, right? Just coward position. Anyway, I love these next couple because they're just vintage.
He can't be the leader of the progressive movement. Stacey Abrams from Georgia is a name that often comes up. The counterpoint with Stacey Abrams from many is, when you've lost this many times, it's hard to become the leader of a movement. John Ossoff, young Democratic senator from Georgia, mentioned also by many. And there are other emerging and influential voices. This is not the entire list, but what I want to bring to you today is there has clearly been a shift. We've seen the perceived future and the changing priorities of the Democratic electorate, in my view, no longer point to Bernie Warren AOC. Who do you believe is the future of the progressive movement?
Subscribe.
And my priority is, I don't have to agree with them on everything, but they need to strike the right tone when it comes to dealing with a Republican Party that has been decimated by ignorance. Obstructionists, people you can't work.
Maybe what if we got Jon Stewart to run and be the president? He'd be real good as the president because he destroys the Republican ignorance every time. It's retro. This is like, we're getting real retro over here with our political analysis.
But that I just realized, like, Pakman wants to be on cable. He wants to be more
on camera.
He wants to be on cable news. He wants to be on CNN as a talking head, and that's the exact sort of segment you send a producer. Being like, yeah, I'll talk about the left. Look, here's my little
7 minutes. 7 minutes is tight. I mean, look, we go on a little bit here, but yeah, no, you're right.
Not about frivolous shit like that. That is so fatuous.
Hey, I've read a piece. Let me just reword it a little bit and say, I wonder what is true and what is not.
Here are some politicians. Okay, thanks.
Did you? I can, if you really want me to, I can even remember what states they're from, and
right. And some people like them, and people have criticisms of them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like truly. I mean, it's just, like where we are, right? I mean, like a lot of this. I think this program, not by choice, but just because of the reality. I think one thing that has been tough is that, like, we didn't get to do Left Reckoning at a time of like ascendancy, right? We never got to do, here's why, Bernie Sanders' piece or argument on this is so much better than Warren's, like we used to get to do on TMBS. I mean, Left Reckoning was very much born in like, shit, Joe Biden's president, the world's still really fucked, and it seems like the left is sort of collapsing in on itself. So the question of like what's next to the left is like, that's very much like something that we spent a lot of time on. So I was very interested to see what folks like Pakman are getting into, which is not even really an argument, again, other than, as you were just saying, a list of names. And then
lazy.
Something that everybody knows is that, it doesn't seem like it's around Bernie Sanders. And
because I feel like to me, it's like coming into this season, it's like, what am I overlooking? What sort of like movement groups, what union, what politicians that are good, whatever they're running under, what am I overlooking? And to just give a fucking chat GPT spit out of tell me about some politicians who could conceivably run left of center. I mean, good Lord. I mean, click on that. Jesus Christ.
Wake me up the day Jamie Raskin starts. I mean,
Isn't
is
he
this,
sick? I'm sorry, like I don't mean to be insensitive, but like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think Jamie Raskin is not like, yeah, I mean, Pakman even admitted he's not the younger generation. He's like an older guy with, I think, health issues.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's not
61.
really much. There's not really much going on. And I mean, I guess like what I'm getting at more is that I think that like one thing that is just needs to just be made abundantly clear is not only, you know, are we not where we need to be? And I'm not trying to encourage any kind of witch hunts or anything like that. But Lord, I mean, people who all sort of seem like they were, you know, working on this project together, you know, not that I necessarily thought Pakman was back then, don't get me wrong, but like the whole, let's call it independent progressive news media system. It's like, oh shit. I mean, that broke up almost immediately. Anyone who doesn't really have a strong commitment to, you know, socialist and working class politics, I mean, almost immediately just sort of rebranded and spent the first couple of years of Joe Biden being like, well, you know, we didn't really want him to be the guy, but he did a lot of things we did want him to do, and being apologists for him. I mean, I guess the breadth, right? The space, the width of the progressive movement that people might have felt we had going into 2019, like even if a Bernie is to lose, right? We still got all the stuff going on. It's like, no, man. I mean, really, that's a lot of that was quite shallow and tenuous in the first place.